This is Linus Lopez. We are talking in the background of the PLDC 2019 in Rotterdam. Today we are going to discuss light and sustainability with Dr. Amardeep Dugar and Kevin Shaw. Thank you both for being here. The discussion covers three topics that we'd like to touch on, both the material aspect of sustainability, the energy discussion, but also the discussion on the sustainability of the profession of lighting design.
But lighting designers shouldn't be primarily about technology. What we should be about is people. My practice has been about being mindful of energy use and being mindful of other sustainability aspects forever. I mean, and people, sustainability, energy, it's what we do, it's what we have been doing. Okay, so essentially we are at the end of what some people like to call leadification. So that big chunk of energy saving by selection of equipment has been taken. And I also think LEDs have come on so far that there may still be an expectation, but there's no deliverability of anything like the saving that's been taken so far. And that's for a number of reasons, not the least of which is the way we measure light. I mean, we don't measure light as energy, we measure light as the way it can provide visibility. So it's related to the human vision system, and we may be able to, we have improved the technology to create the light or to transfer from electricity to light. We can't, with equal facility, change the ability of the eye to respond to light any better, at least not without a lot of genetic engineering and several new generations of humans. So
there has also been more than one reference to the Maslow triangle for hierarchy, and suddenly people are beginning to refer to essential needs once again, and then looking at that self-actualization pyramid right up there at the top. So there is, I think, a healthy discussion. Maybe it needs a little bit of direction, and I think that's where you come in, Kevin, because given your experience in this kind of thing, do you see a direction ahead for both the industry itself, from the manufacturing of the material point of view, but also from the lighting designers and the way lighting designers are contributing to this dialogue?
Well, I think we've seen quite a lot of philosophical contribution to the dialogue from a lot of lighting designers, including yourself. And I think that's all very well, but I do not see change in industry. The first point you made about materiality, I think, is one that we really do need to start taking seriously. And it's interesting, well, there's two aspects to this. Interesting is a big table with a diagram that does this. It's raw materials to recycling. That's not what we should be talking about. What we should be talking about is circular economy. And circular economy is something that's coming into lighting regulation in the EU right now, and it has the potential, if it's allowed to create the same amount of upset as their energy push, which has driven LED into the market so fast and so heavily. This, to me, is the future. It's the future we can contribute in terms of sustainability. But it does mean re-looking at what we do, how we practice, and what we want to do with lighting schemes. We are complicit right now in the destruction of existing potentially workable lighting and insertion of new materials or partially recycled materials into projects. If you've got a new build, well, you're starting from a blank piece of paper to an extent. If you're doing a refurbishment, then there's a question to be asked.
If I may, to just switch tracks a little bit, to arrive at some solutions, right, if we could, because it was a very interesting paper that you had sent across, which was discussing pragmatic utopia and the approach, right, to help start finding solutions. We will keep identifying the problems, and as the problems come up, we have to be able to start now identifying solutions. Would you like to maybe discuss some of those methods?
Yeah. The pragmatic utopia was a concept that was started by a researcher, and then it became very much popularized by this very famous Danish architect called Bjarke Ingels, and he runs this architecture practice called Bjarke Ingels Group. And he worked on the 7 principles of pragmatic utopia, where it says that first principle is called methodically mimic nature. So whatever buildings he designed had a lot of natural forces that were incorporated into the design, and then the whole building started to look like a piece of nature. And that's how it kind of where he said that there is a tall building where the square footage of the area was not big enough to give it a bigger area,
mass,
so he had to take it higher. But the trouble was, in Copenhagen there are very strong winds, so the building would start swaying. So the whole thing was to flip the building over, so that the height of it, the footage of the building was as it was, and by the time it reached the top of the building, it turned the other way, so that it will not
counter the
forces of the nature. So that is something which was a good solution, which I thought. And every other project was a problem, and then he went about finding a solution for it. And I think that was what was exciting about this whole thing of pragmatic utopia, where you're pragmatic about the problem that is there, solution, and then you give an utopian solution, and then you try and bring them all together.
So the eternal optimist in me is looking for a happy summary of our discussion, Kevin.
I'm really keen to keep on moving forward, to keep on doing the next thing, taking the new ideas, the new technology that's coming on, new ways of using the technology that makes sense. And it's not technology for technology's sake. I won't touch an OLED because it's just the wrong technology for lighting. I won't touch power over Ethernet because it's a bonkers way to wire a building, and I just cannot see the case for it. With trepidation, I'm stepping into the Bluetooth pool, and looking at radio things. I've already put my foot in the water, and the water came straight through my shoe. But with all these new things that come on, it's a learning process. So although I got a wet foot on that one, it hasn't really affected the client. I made sure that the design would work, and how I used it would not affect the end use. But I learned an awful lot about how you use it and applicability.
Okay.
That's what we do. That's what we do as lighting designers. We do that, and as long as that continues, there's opportunities to continue. I'm going to keep at it.